ready to roll?
Mm-hmm.
Can't believe I'm making a speech on this. By a show of hands, how many of us are sick of audience surveys? One more is all I promise. Also, by another show of hands, how many of you are currently in the seated position? Hopefully I should see all of them go up. That's because today, we're not conducting a game show. We're going to learn about chairs. Now, I'm a well-known chair enthusiast, and similar to Kai's statement of credibility, I've been sitting on chairs for a little bit over 2 decades now, so I believe I'm quite qualified to speak on this topic. So, today we'll be talking about the impact chairs have had on society. I'll be going over a brief evolutionary history of the chair, and we'll be talking about where the chair is today in society. We'll also be talking about a controversy surrounding chairs. That's right. There will be more pictures of bad boys like this, so sit back and relax. Alright, so since the beginning of time, people's feet have been getting tired of standing around. And the chair dates back quite far. In fact, actually, since the beginning of mankind, we often sought for some way to get up off the ground because it was cold, damp, often wet. And so it was actually a method of survival to sit up off the ground. It's actually strange that we don't see the first example of a real chair until about 2680 BC in Egypt. Here's an example. This is actually the chair of King Tutankhamun, famous Egyptian king we've all heard about before. Now notice that how this chair differs from this one, quite more ornate in styling, features a lot of gold, a lot of fancy materials. Early chair designs were actually also found on all continents. China actually invented the first folding chair. That's an interesting thought right there. Ancient chairs have been found in Greece as well. Now, fast forward to medieval European times, chairs took on much different nature. Notice much higher profile back here, much higher backrest, and all the fancy carving. Just think about how heavy this thing would be. Chairs actually took on much more of an imposing stature during this period of probably the, I'd say, 9th and 10th century AD. Now, you may not know this, but if this were a classroom in any time before, I'd say, the year 1500, none of us would have chairs to sit on. That's because the chair was actually known as a luxury item. You see, this type of chair would be something that is actually more of a status symbol. The chairs were actually only owned by the wealthy, the royal, and actually church leadership. It wasn't until the Renaissance in the 1500s that brought the chair to common man. You see, during this time, the renewed interest in learning, in culture, brought about new ways of making chairs. Now, the chair became much more inexpensive and could be afforded by the common man. It also became much smaller than this guy right here in stature. This was really important because instead of the chair just being sedentary and staying in one place, now the chair was mobile. It could be moved from room to room. And this was really important because now, rather than the chair just sitting in one place, now it could actually be moved, and impromptu socialization, arrange the chairs in a circle. This is really what chairs are all about. So, since the chair rose to popularity in the 1500s, it's only skyrocketed since. Today, chairs are quite frankly everywhere. Think about it. You'll probably sit in a bunch of different chairs today. You sat in one in your car. This morning you're sitting in one right now. Maybe later at home watching TV. Maybe later at work. Who knows? A study in Britain showed that people, working adults, actually spend something like 14 hours on average sitting down. We spend our entire lives in chairs. From our earliest years, isn't that adorable, to our most private moments. Some of us might actually die in a chair. Oh, really, we might. I believe the chair's success is actually a result of its utilitarian nature. You see, the chair at its core emphasizes two important ideas. We have productivity and we have comfort. The chair is really a happy compromise between lying prone on the ground and standing up straight. As a famous and well-known singer-songwriter Hannah Montana might say, the best of both worlds. And these common features of productivity and comfort actually encompass why the chair is so useful. We use it at work because sitting down is a position we can maintain for quite a long time while remaining focused. So it's quite obvious that the chair is great. Why would anyone have a problem with the chair? Well, you see, Big Fitness and the manufacturers of jump ropes are always trying to get us off our butts. Last year, MSNBC reported on a study by a group called Live Science. Sounds like some sort of group of fanatical, chair-hating, treadmill lobbyists to me. They claimed that they had analyzed the habits of about 120,000 people over 13 years and actually showed that during this time, women who sat more than 6 hours a day were 37% more likely to die within the period of the study, and men 18%. CBS actually released a similar study linking sitting down too much to obesity and heart attacks. Why all the fear-mongering? We shouldn't take this sitting down. Or we shouldn't stand for it. There we go. I'm sure all these people have some sort of point. I suppose on average, the more sitting we do, the less exercise we're getting. So it's important to always think about moderation. Now, in conclusion, I really hope, I dream that you guys will all be more interested in chairs from now on. Whether it was the rich history of the chair that got to you, the prominence of the chair in today's society, or the controversy surrounding it. Interesting. I hope you guys will be more interested in chairs. Don't take them for granted. They put up with a lot. When it comes down to it, the chair is an important part of our daily lives, giving us not only a supportive and comfortable spot to do homework or watch TV from, but also invites us to share this experience with others. That is why the chair is so great. If you want to be a chair enthusiast like me, well, please, remain seated.
All right, Nicole, what did you think?
I thought it was a great speech. He always puts humor into his speeches, and it seems laid back and conversational, so everyone is interested, or I was interested no matter what the topic was. And then even though the topic might seem outlandish, like, oh, chair, it does back it up with facts and history and data, so it's actually fun to listen.
Okay.
So where do you stand on the speech, Richard?
Oh, you know, I take a back seat to no one in my admiration of Mike's presentation. Yeah, that's it, you know. There was plenty of support, but you didn't have a leg to stand on. We got plenty of these things. All right. No, the speech is a lot of fun. You've got a great attention device. Your thesis statement is a little broad, but I like the idea that you've got set up here. And you have a very solid preview. In the body of the speech, I didn't think that you followed through with the transitions as clearly as you had set up at the beginning of the presentation. But I could kind of see that there's a chronological development in the first section. And then when you got to that last section, I think your transition needed to be a little bit smoother, but it was clear that it was one of those points that you'd set up earlier in the speech. I could use a little bit more support here and there, you know, when it comes to reference material. And I like the idea here. I think you've got a good run at it. This would be a good example of what we call a speech to entertain. It's got some content to it that's about the subject, but a lot of it is really about being amusing and interesting in regard to the subject rather than adding a whole bunch of information. You had a few informative points in it, but a lot of it's entertaining. And the visuals are fun too, and I liked all the language jokes. I mean, all of those things. I'm a sucker for that stuff, so that worked really well for me. Thank you.